Good evening and welcome to tonight's Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan and we are again very grateful to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, to agree to come to our studios tonight for this live show straight out of the plane not too many days ago from Azerbaijan after the COP29 meeting. As the head of the Fiji delegation, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
My pleasure.
Now, Professor Prasad, as head of Fiji's delegation, first time, I know you tried to sidestep other COP meetings when you were asked to go, but this time I think because the PM said you will be heading the delegation, you had no option. Coming back, what are some of the positives and negatives that you are coming back with?
Well, Vijay, first of all, I want to thank the Prime Minister for asking me to lead the delegation. And this COP29, as many people have dubbed it, as a finance COP, and indeed it was a finance COP amongst a few other things. I think that there are some key outcomes. In fact, at one stage we thought that the talks would collapse. And I must say that as head of Fiji's delegation and as part of the Pacific Small Island Development States Group and the broader IOCs, the Alliance of Small Island States, which includes the Caribbean and the Indian Ocean, I think this group played a very, very pivotal role. In fact, if this group was not there, we might have had the talks collapse completely. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank the Secretary General of the Forum, Baron Wanga, and all the Pacific delegates, including the Samoan Minister for Environment, who is also the chair of the IOCS group. And the outcomes that we've got is not 100%, not exactly what the small island states and Fiji wanted. For example, we had proposed a floor ceiling. We said 39 billion should be the minimum. We didn't get that, but we have a number of outcomes. The first important outcome is the operationalization of the loss and damage fund, which was established in Dubai, UAE, at COP28. And so that loss and damage fund board has been appointed. The World Bank is the financial intermediary. And the fact that it is now operationalized, countries like Fiji and others in the Pacific would be able to access those funding. Then we've had agreement on the $300 billion per year by 2035. I think that's a good beginning. Plus we have this 1.3 trillion through mobilization goal. So there is a mobilization goal of 1.3 trillion, by 2035. Again, it's a good outcome because there is a roadmap which says, this is what we can get. So amongst the others, there are some other good outcomes like, the carbon trading agreement, where, you can trade, carbon emissions, across internationally. And that, again, is a good outcome. So for the Pacific, for Fiji, when we are looking at a lot of immediate needs, I mean, as we know, our fiscal space is limited, but our infrastructure demand, for example, we need to relocate 40 communities. We need to build 700 seawalls. We need to rehabilitate, land damaged through saltwater intrusion, inundation, damaged infrastructure. These are all projects that we can get grant financing for. And I think what we have agreed is a window. And the other important thing, Vijay, that's come out of this COP29 is the access. We were making a big song and dance about this idea of access. We are saying the fact that funds are available does not necessarily mean that small island states can access it. The complexity, the timeline, and we are saying it should be quick, easy, and a window for small island states. So I think overall, Fiji played a very, very important role. And I am very happy to say that the delegation, especially our young negotiators from the different ministries, they did a wonderful job. I mean, these people were out and about, whole night, morning, running from one room to the other, making sure that our position, the text, the decisions were all monitored. And the ministers, and then we're fortunate that some of the ministers came in the second week. The Honorable AG was there, Honorable Leader of the Opposition was here, and I want to thank him because, he also contributed quite well, in terms of providing some of the speaking engagements and being able to contribute because he also had experience. So we're very happy to have the opposition with us. And we were one of the few countries, apart from New Zealand and maybe one or two others, that actually had the opposition in the national delegation.
My question also in relation to, you had a member of your own delegation, actually a fellow government minister, Sugar Minister Charanjit Singh. You know the statements he made about it's a waste of time and 80% of the climate funding goes to Pacific Islands, goes to NGOs, governments for travel, consultancy, wining and dining. Yeah. What are your thoughts on his comments?
Well, I mean, I do respect people for their opinions, but I would rather have some of these opinions and views discussed not amongst members of parliament themselves, but in a forum that. But I think the issue, Vijay, is that there is.
He didn't get his way? Or?
No, I think the issue is about what's on the ground. I think in terms of delegation, when we said we are taking 56 people, and I said 90% of those people who are going are funded by other agencies. So what is happening is this is a conference of parties. You can only attend COP meetings if you are accredited, or if you have what we call a party badge or an overflow badge. So if Vijay Narayan wants to represent FM96 or Fiji Village at COP, and you are from Fiji, you would not be able to register yourself as FM96. You will come to Fiji government and say, look, can I have a party badge? And we will approve your party badge. You will fund your trip. You will go there and you do your bit. So, for example, Fiji Airways sent a board member because they had issues about this solidarity fund and fuel tax and all that and the IATA. So there were some discussions. Now, we had to give her a party badge, but she was funded by Fiji Airways, a lot of the NGOs. Some people from Fiji were on other countries' badge. We have accredited a lot of the NGOs with Fiji badge, so they were part of the delegation. And many of them were really good because they joined the Fiji delegation. They were helping the ministers, they were helping the negotiators. So and I explained this, when we launched the delegation, we said very clearly, this person is funded by this organization. And so what government is spending out of the 1.2 million, if you put it as a total, is about 238,000. We will have the exact final figure, once we look at it. But the point is the delegation of government officials was not that big.
In terms of benefits coming through climate financing for Fiji, you highlighted, I had the Permanent Secretary for Environment here before he left, Dr. Sivendra Michael, and of course there's 46 vulnerable communities from areas that are affected due to climate change. They need to be relocated. Of course there's issues, some of them are hesitant to move because of traditional grounds, etc. But do we expect, based on the progress made now, escalation of the relocations?
That's a very good question, Vijay. And let me just say this, that while this funding is available, we have to get our acts together, as a government, as a country. We need to be able to have the capacity, the ability to put up proposals. And in that respect, I think we as a coalition government have done very well. Our National Development Plan is hailed as a model plan which provides very clear priorities. Our development partners have praised our National Development Plan. The Ministry of Finance is working on a detailed implementation plan. And some of the projects, in fact, all of the infrastructure projects, when you look at building schools, for example, building health centers, roads, water supply, bridges, community organizations, all this infrastructure will have to be climate resilient. So in fact, if we are able to put up proposals for funding in different sectors, then we are likely to benefit a lot. And I am confident that given our implementation plan and given the windows for climate finance by different ministries, we would be able to get significant funding for at least, smaller projects. Bigger projects, again, you could have a blended finance model, you could have concessional loans, you could have grant components, you could have, climate finance.
So just a question on issues such as, we know the climate finances are available. You raised a very important point about access, because yes, the developing countries, it's all about access and timing. Based on you, and you're the Minister for Finance, in terms of your timing of that finance to be accessed for the budget cycle, by when do we expect money to start coming in?
So again, that's a very critical question, and Vijay, and I can't give you an exact answer, but what I can say to you is that, for example, the loss and damage fund is now operationalized. The World Bank is going to be a financial intermediary. We have articulated very strongly with the World Bank, and it was very good that the World Bank president, visited Fiji. He saw, and the World Bank has now come out and said very clearly that the time for conception, from the time of conception of a project to its approval, should be less than a year. And the Pacific Regional Project on Correspondent Banking Relationship, for example, was approved within a year, and it's now being implemented. So even the World Bank, Asian Development Bank realized that we are concerned about access. We are saying, don't tell us that we have these big complex procedures, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years to get project approved. Now we are moving away from that. So I'm confident now, given some of the decisions that were made at COP29, where the MDBs, the multilateral development banks, have been asked to make it easier and more accessible financing for small island developing states. And they're also now going to provide technical assistance and capacity building in those countries, so that we are able to quickly write proposals, understand where the priorities are, and get the funding. So a very good question that you ask, and I think the agreement there and the decision by the World Bank and others is supporting that.
I think because in terms of the population, the issue is if not, they will just see the top meetings as a talk fest and no action.
Yeah.
So you expect it to change to action rather than a talk fest.
It is about action, and I think as I said, we haven't got everything that small island developing states ask for, but what we've got in this agreement is a good foundation, is a good basis. See, the other fund that we advocated very strongly, Vijay, is the Pacific Resilience Fund, PRF. The finance ministers earlier this year met in Suva, decided that the facility will be based in Tonga, the secretariat. We are meeting again in March to sort out the finance and the legalities around it. We have got $150 million already pledged for that fund. We are targeting about $250 million by the end of this year, and the final target of $500 million. And that fund will be specifically, this is a new innovation by the Pacific, managed by the Pacific, And this financing would be more localized to build community resilience, to undertake small projects. And Fiji would be in a very good position to access some of this funding and align it to our national development plans and priorities.
Now let's talk about poverty, Professor Prasad. We have talked about this before. According to the Fiji Bureau of Statistics Housing Income and Expenditure Survey 2019 to 2020, 30% of Fiji's population lived under the basic needs poverty line, and that was equating to $41.91 per adult equivalent per week. When do we expect the results of a new survey to measure the people living below the poverty line, and do we expect the poverty line to be raised as $41.91 per adult equivalent is quite low?
Again, Vijay, very good question. The household income expenditure survey will begin soon, and we expect to see new results and an assessment of where we are. Obviously, you have to consider, Vijay, that post-COVID, COVID hit the country very hard. The economic recovery has now taken place, and I'm very pleased to say that our economic policies that we put in the first budget, contrary to some of the criticisms, is actually now showing results. The last budget that we put out, and we realized that dealing with imported inflation, there are aspects of inflation that we can deal with locally, but there are aspects of price rise inflation that is external to us. For example, fuel prices. For example, food prices that we import. If food prices go up in New Zealand, the inflation rate in Australia and New Zealand is for a lot of people unbearable, for a long time, particularly after COVID. And so if we are importing stuff from there, naturally the prices. So what we are working on both prongs. We are saying that we need to build people's income. So if you look at the last budget, what we did, we focused on income. We raised the minimum wage from $4 to $4.50, which will go up to $5 from 1st of April. We put in additional funding for the agriculture sector. We're providing fertilizer subsidy, weedicide subsidy for all agricultural crops now. We guaranteed, minimum price of $1,000 for rice. We gave the government provided additional funding for the sugarcane farmers to take the price, the highest price ever in the history of this country, $105 now. Plus, we looked at other measures. So in the last budget, when we came into government, we increased social welfare across the board. Then we put in, we've spent about $90 million already in 2023. More than 200,000 students got $200 each at the beginning of the school year. This year again, we've also included 40 million again, and we've called for applications, and more than 200,000 students next year would be helped. Because we realize that the families who are at the lower income end, as you said, some of them would be in poverty. They would need this kind of assistance. So scholarships, no more loan payment. We wrote of $650 million. We're giving additional $150 million now. That $150 million is full scholarship. And we're giving it to 9,940.
That's the conversion of the TELS.
Existing continuing students, plus 10,830 new students. In fact, the scheme that we put in, we are giving more scholarships, merit-based scholarships to more students, and the monitoring is much better. The previous system, the floodgate was open. We lost about $160, $170 million on students we don't even know. Students took the money, they didn't do the study. So this scheme that we've provided, and we've increased every other pension pension rates again. So we have the free education and transport assistance of about 100 million, electricity subsidy of about 10 million, kidney dialysis 3 million. So these are the first approach. You provide income support. Then we've looked at how we can increase people's income through employment, through other assistance. So my guess is that when the household income expenditure survey comes on board, that we would have a very clear, picture of how we have done. And so if you look at the indicators, the growth rate last year, we've just revised the growth rate from 2.8 to 3.8%. And that is a vindication of the fact that our policies are working. Our policies are inspiring confidence. I can tell you now, in fact, the macroeconomic committee has put a very conservative estimate. I think we would have close
over
to
4%?
Over 4% growth in 2024. Inflation, Vijay, is also slowing down. It's down to 3.6% end of October 2024. And so essentially, if you look at the $4 billion budget, about $1 billion, quarter of the budget, goes to relief to hundreds of thousands of families. And that, obviously, if you include 650 million write-off, that is income that is going into the pockets of the households, the students, as well as their parents, because they are not paying that. If they are working, they are not paying back. All they have to do is to save the country. So we can see the indicators. In fact, this year's revenue, I am forecasting that it will be more than our estimates in the budget, because the economy has picked up, consumption has picked up, investment has picked up significantly. DPM committee the other day said that there are almost $1 billion worth of investment that are happening. Hotels that were not being built, construction activity has picked up. So there is a sense of confidence in the economy. So we are hoping that by the time we get this household income expenditure survey, we will have a very clear picture of where we are. And my guess is that we would be working backwards after more people getting into poverty as a result of COVID, that we are getting back to a situation where we are getting some people out of poverty in a much quicker way.
Now, my question also is, all of this requires a great deal of strategic planning, of course, budget planning, where money goes. We don't have unlimited amount of funds to deal with issues. But just a question, do you have a team of specialists or experts looking at priority areas that the government should focus on and how the civil service is executing this? How is this being monitored?
Vijay, again, a very important and a very good question, and something that we as a government, we should take this as an important, reflection, because you're quite right. If you put out a budget, from the Ministry of Finance, in the priorities are in the budget, we say we want to provide, for example, we provided about close to $6 million for boreholes. And we are saying that a lot of people out there in the rural areas, in the villages and settlements, don't have water. And to take pipe water will take a longer time. So what we did in the last budget, we said, we're allocating close to $6 million. We go and put boreholes so that people start getting drinking water and they don't have any problem. And we've set a task force of Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Lands, Works, and other rural development. But if that task force is not able to deliver the boreholes in a timely manner, we've started from 1st of August. This is November, almost end. Next month is December. We'll finish 5-6 months. And I don't know how many boreholes we have dug already, but this is something that we will have to check.
For the people
So I'm just saying, giving you an example. If they don't do the work and get the boreholes done, the money is there.
The money is there. The people on the ground
Yeah.
do not get what they
Exactly.
felt was supposed to
No,
be given to
I
them.
agree with you.
I remember, I just give you one example. For example, for many, many years, and people will know this, CWM Hospital, maternity hospital, it was said many times, you were in opposition then, when the then government, the then Minister for Finance would say, we will build a new 200-bed maternity hospital. If we go now, there's still a board is there, but there's no maternity hospital.
Yeah.
So in terms of, one is the allocation of money, the other one is the execution.
Yeah.
So are you finding difficulties with that?
Vijay, I have to be very honest. We have difficulty in implementation. I think it would be dishonest of me, dishonest of us in government, to say that we are implementing everything, on time. We are not. In some areas, some ministries are better than the others, but overall, there are some ministries where the implementation rate could be better, and that is why we are saying that the new national development plan, the implementation plan that is being worked out. So you have a plan. We're going to have an implementation plan. There are priorities. We are going to go use that for the budget. We're going to use that for the donors. And we are going to monitor. So we have set up a monitoring and evaluation. So by January, within the Ministry of Finance, we will look at very clearly all the ministries and the usage of funds, the utilization. And if we find that there are ministries who are struggling, that there is agency in other areas, we can redeploy funds to support those. So we are going to manage it by making sure that we keep
Will you take action against non-deliverers in the civil service?
Well, I mean,
if it's obvious that they did not perform.
There are obviously processes within the civil service, and I think the ministers are well aware. I think many of them are working very hard. Some of them sometimes, face problems with the delivery and the implementation. So we are trying to build that culture of a delivery mentality, because you're right, the budget could be very good, the allocations could be very good, but if it is not being implemented on the ground in a timely manner, then the people don't get the service. And there are, as I said, not every ministry is the same. Some are doing very well, some are not doing so well. We are hoping that, where it's not being done quickly, that we will build capacity, we will provide support, and we will interrogate and nudge ministries to be more agile, responsive to the service delivery for our people, because the people expect the service.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Oh my gosh! Oh, what's in the box?
You're probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, if you must know, it's actually me. Before you call the police, I'm actually an app. The all-new Fiji Village app. Here's an update. See what I did there? I gave you an update. What's new? Well, for starters, I look different. My new layout also comes with stories if you're looking for something short and sweet. I will bring you the latest news on the dot so you stay updated. You're welcome. You don't have to go anywhere for content because I bring the content to you. Not only can you listen to your favorite radio stations, you can also watch online video content. Which reminds me, do you love sports? Well, guess what? With the Fiji Village app, you can stay up to date with your favorite sports and scoreboards, no matter where you are. Your #1 news website just got better with an app. Download and get updated now.
watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We apologize for that small technical error in this digital world that we live in. At times, things do happen, but we're glad that we are back online for this important show. Our guest tonight, as you know, Deputy Prime Minister, Professor Biman Prasad. Professor Prasad, let's talk about health.
Health is something, Vijay, where the demand, if it is not managed, if it is not done properly, can be completely out of hand, and it can become unaffordable to the ministry, to the government, and to the country as a whole.
Let's go to preventative care. One of the things is, a lot of issues in relation to NCDs. 80% of our deaths in this country comes from NCDs. We then have issues with HIV. Reported numbers, as we know, already more than 500 new cases. Majority of them unprotected sex. Of course, there's other factors including drugs, etc., which is contributing to that rise in cases. Mental health is another one. Domestic violence. We have one of the highest rates of domestic violence in the world. All of these needs a level of prevention or education that we are able to address this?
Well, Vijay, we as a government, and in particular the Ministry of Health, we had asked the World Bank to do a review of our health sector, and as I said, the report is out. It will be launched by the Honourable Prime Minister on Friday, and as I said, it will have some damning findings. For example, we are a middle-income country, but our health outcomes are that of a low-income country. That's all I can say.
It's very damning.
Very damning at this point. And I'm hoping that this report will trigger, actions, policies, and our ability to address some of these fundamental issues. And as I said, Vijay, this is not something that has happened in the last 2 years or last 6 months or last 1 year. This is a culmination. This is a legacy of failed health policies of the past, inability of the previous government to honestly address some of these fundamental problems. Public health, spending more in public health makes economic sense. The focus was shifted away from public health, away from NCDs, to thinking about building, as you said, hospitals and all that. And today, what has happened is all this public health neglect has led to a public health emergency. So as you said, more people are dying of NCDs. More people are dying of, kidney problems. These are issues that will have to be dealt with. So we will be obviously, putting out some announcements after the launch of this report as to how we plan to deal with it. But people have to understand, and I have to be very honest. We are now open, honest. We admit, we accept, findings from experts. We don't start criticizing them. We are not defensive because we know that there are serious problems. And these problems have been a result of those failed policies. And it's our job now to fix it. And we will fix it.
We all have to wait as a country. We are stuck.
Exactly.
It's the reality of the situation. Now, the thing is, other questions that have come in about our expecting mothers. These are the brave women. They go through a very trying time to give birth. And some of the questions that have been sent is that if the Deputy Prime Minister can go to the maternity hospital and assess what type of service the Ministry of Health is providing and talk to the nurses in relation to that. Because they say their mothers, their daughters, their sisters, and they go through trying times based on the facilities and services are there. Deputy PM, are you planning to take a tour of the CWM hospital based on that request?
Look, I absolutely understand, those kind of comments, those kind of frustrations. I'm not saying that it's the same everywhere. I've been to CWM hospital since coming into government, twice. I've visited all the hospitals, including Lambasa, Wainikoro, Ba, Lotoka, Tabua, Reki, Singatoka. I visited all the hospitals, and I wanted to see for myself as Minister of Finance, as somebody who was passionate, when I was in opposition about improving our health outcomes, and so I appreciate those kind of honest comments, and there are areas that we can improve significantly, and sometimes it doesn't require a lot of money to fix some of those basic things. And I think the Minister for Health has been very honest about some of these issues, and we as a government, we want to fix it, and we will, Vijay. This is part of the strategy that we have put. For example, this health sector review, the pharmaceutical review, and our determination to fix this is there. We just we are working on it, and I can understand some of the frustration, some of those comments. But I also want to say that in the last 2 years we have made some definite improvements. There are areas, there are instances, cases where things have not worked well, particularly at CWM hospital. But if you go to other health centers, other subdivisional hospitals, I was in Tabua, and I talked to the subdivisional medical officer there. She's done a wonderful job. People who go there seem to be happy about the services. But as I said, nowhere should people feel that health facilities, health consumables are not up to standard. Because as I said, we have the money, we need to get down and do the work.
Again, you had the money, and this was in the case of overtime. You would be very aware of this case, where there was a circular from the Ministry of Civil Service, Ministry of Health, of course a shortage of staff, and then because there was a directive that you can only take time off in lieu and no overtime, they decided to close some of the services like the pharmacy and x-ray services, etc., after 4:30, and it created a major uproar because some of those services are critically needed. What are your thoughts on that, knowing that the money is there?
That should not have ever happened. The ministries responsible, as they did eventually, should not have let that problem happen. So I'm glad that it's been resolved now.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break. About 20 years ago, we had a major drug bust, and you would remember, you would have been part of the operations at Laudala Beach. A lot of people in Fiji did not know what was methamphetamine. And what we are picking up on, people are saying it's readily available. Just an issue in relation to General Secretary. Was that a tactical move that he ejected himself from Parliament?
Personally, it's unfortunate.
How are you dealing with those police officers who may be allegedly involved in this?
No one is above the law.
We assure you that we will be having police officers around.
As a result of that bad policy, by the end of this month, we would have lost close to about $70 million in government revenue.
Bula Vinaka, I am Vijay Narayan. This is Fiji Village Straight Talk.
Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan. Watch it live on the Fiji Village Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Roads Authority its budget. You again have allocated as Minister for Finance a good amount of budget every year to the FRA. The question being raised is about monitoring. They're saying roads are being done, opening up again for not too much time, and some people have also sent questions specifically. There's one in relation to roads in Naitasiri. They're saying some of the roads are in very bad condition. I'll give you details on that. That's in relation to Tauli and Nakandi Road. Big potholes need even graders. Keshwan Gounder asking if you can look into that. There's questions about Khalsa Road. They are saying that works are being done every few weeks and it opens up again with many potholes. It seems like there's some pipe works underneath in some areas are not being fixed, which is causing the issue. It is clearly visible, but still contractors come and seal the potholes knowing that they will open up again within days. How are we monitoring this as it opens up a big issue of abuse?
And I want to thank the people for raising those questions. Vijay, we have a very competent chairman of the Fiji Roads Authority, and I have seen him work, and so on the positive side, we are fixing a lot of roads around the country, and I am confident that the chairman would take all this into account. I think you're right that some monitoring and evaluation of the contractors and people who do this work, the quality and the value for money is important. I mean, we used to have this big issue. In the past, we don't seem to have got that now, but there are issues of rural roads which were neglected for so many years. I know I've been to Nakandi and other areas in Naitasiri. A lot of roads in those areas have been fixed. The intensity, I mean, now this is not providing excuses, Vijay, but the intensity and the frequency of rain and flooding in some areas is a big cause of damage to roads. But in some areas, you are right, and people are right, it's just poor workmanship and the lack of efficiency and the quality of work that needs to be done. And I think, as I said, we have a very competent chairman of Fiji Roads Authority, and under his leadership, I have seen, experienced myself, whenever I've raised issues with him, the speed and the efficiency with which they fix this is important. So there's been a big improvement. I think once we get the PWD also up and running properly with its own machines and all that, so a lot of these rural roads could be fixed, and people deserve better roads. There is absolutely no doubt, and these kind of feedbacks are very important.
Now, again, on that Culture Road one, I hope that you can look into that. Definitely there's something going on, and that's not only there would be others. Education assistance. Some schools are demanding parents to pay different types of fees before enrollment or re-enrollment. Again, budget states a high amount of per student allocation. The Education Ministry receives that money, and that is then disbursed to the schools in the form of grants. The parents are now saying some schools are asking for $200, even more than $200 in a year, and it's based on the prerequisite when it comes to enrollment or re-enrollment.
That is not acceptable. School management should not charge students for entry or enrollment in their schools. What I said at the school management conference recently, Vijay, and as a government, the Honorable Prime Minister and I Before the election, we met the school management and we said that there has to be a partnership between the school management, the government, and the community. More than 90% of the schools in this country are run and owned by faith-based community organizations, and the partnership is important. So we are not saying that school managements, communities should not raise funds because these fundraising activities bring parents, teachers, students together. It builds, and over the years, all that was broken. Parents stopped visiting schools. They didn't know who the teachers were. They were teaching their children. There was no interaction like before. So we are saying that kind of partnership must be enhanced, but it should not be used as a pretext to charge students fees. The government is providing enough funding, in terms of a school grant. We will be reviewing some of those probably in the next budget to see, how whether that's adequate or not. But we are also supporting the students, through this. This was a scheme of the coalition government when we came in, $200 per child at the beginning of the school, because we want, students to feel, happy, good. Parents have a bit of income support, and so all this support is being provided to the students, and the school should be happy, the parents should be happy, and therefore we don't see any need or necessity of school managements charging that kind of exorbitant fees. I mean, it must be an isolated incident. I don't think schools are doing that.
But definitely that school is sending, and I'll give you details on that so that you can address that.
Yeah.
The fight against drugs. One of the biggest issues is we know now the problem of drugs in this country. It's all out in the open. The issue here is we desperately need a drug rehabilitation center. St. Giles Hospital bursting at its seams, dealing with mental health issues. It's not equipped to be a drug rehab center. You have provided the funding of a drug rehab center. There's still no drug rehab center. What's happening with that?
Vijay, again, as I said, we need to accelerate some of these implementation where money has been allocated. And you're absolutely right. We, the different ministries, we've as a government, I must say that we've taken this head on. There is more publicity, there is more, arrest, there is more discovery of drugs. But the problem has also become big. It's now being exposed. So the drug rehabilitation centers, the Narcotics Bureau, the additional funding that we have provided, we're getting support from our donor countries such as Australia, New Zealand, to see how we can put this as a holistic program, so that you do the prevention, you reduce the harm, you provide additional support such as rehabilitation to get people out of this scourge, which is eating away, the souls of families, and in the end, it'll eat away the nation, if we are not careful. So it's an important, and I think it's as you would say that time for talking is over. We need to look at some of this action, and for the next budget, we will again, seriously reconsider. We will make a serious review with the relevant ministries, and I can assure you that there will be no shortage of funding, to do some of those.
This is again a Ministry of Health issue. Drug rehab center.
Ministry of Health, as well as Ministry of Social Welfare and others, and we want this is to be a whole of government approach, and we will have some very good discussion before the next budget. But there is enough money in this budget to do some of these things already.
So we definitely will have the center before the next budget, right?
Well, I can't give you the exact time. I have to
Exactly,
find out
mean
from
the
the relevant ministry to say where we are on it.
Cost of living. FCCC inquiry was being done into exorbitant price hikes. They said they had already seen that there was collusion, that there were some issues going on in terms of the daily needs of the people. What is being done in relation to that?
Yeah. So Vijay, the broader issue, as I said earlier, in terms of price, management, some we can control, some we can't. But you're right, FCCC's job is to look at, some of these unscrupulous, traders engaging in price gouging and, not being considerate with respect to how they should price themselves. And government has certain tools in its arsenal. For example, we can put price control on certain items. We can open up the import. Some of the producers, are heavily protected. Government provides them with 42% duty protection. And we expect them to behave, honorably and ethically. Yes, we are saying you make profit, but you should not do that at the expense of the consumers in a way that is harmful, to the quality of life that they can live, because they have to pay, such exorbitant prices, particularly, issues such as, meat products. There's been some issue with respect to chicken prices. We had some shortage, although the producers are now saying that, there will be no shortage during Christmas. And I hope that the prices will also be reasonable.
My final question is in relation to FICAC investigations regarding you. A lot has been said, and now it's gone into a commission of inquiry. What are your comments on that?
The commission of inquiry is not in the investigation. The terms of the commission of inquiry is about the appointment of the FICAC commissioner. So I want to leave that there. As I said before, my lawyers have dealt with it. And as far as they're concerned, as far as I'm concerned, there is obviously no case for what was being planned by the previous FICAC commissioner. So I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, no, I know that, but in relation to the commission of inquiry, one of the issues that was raised was, I think it's in the terms of reference, is whether any ministers interfered in the process. What's your comments to the people of Fiji regarding
that? Obviously, if there was, it will come out in the commission of inquiry. I don't think there was. Other ministers have come out and made their point. I'm not aware of anything like that. And I hope the commission of inquiry will put that to rest.
As you had said that you fully backed that inquiry,
Yep.
that to ensure that the truth comes out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sir, in terms of coalition government challenges, you have many challenges, as you said, the different issues that are coming up. In terms of managing the challenges, what are some of the critical things do you want to tell the nation before you finish off tonight?
Well, two things, Vijay. One, when we formed the government, we decided that we had a coalition with the People's Alliance, with Mr. Rambuka as the leader, and we decided that we will form the government after winning the election. After the results were out, we were short of 3 seats. We needed Sodalpa party to join us, and I'm glad they joined us. Now we have a coalition government with the Honorable Prime Minister as the leader of the coalition, and the NFP has always believed in shared leadership. Justice Jairam Reddy and the Honorable Prime Minister tried that in 1999. They didn't make it, but the idea didn't die. And I think what has happened now is, despite the shortcomings or whatever that we may have had as a government in the last 2 years, we are providing a model of government, power sharing, leaders working together, that would be a defining legacy. And we want to leave that legacy. We want to run this government, and we have done a number of things. We now have an open political environment. We now have a free media. We now have respect for human rights. We now have absolute transparency and accountability. There is openness in the way we declare things. Now those are elements of democracy. I came into politics, Vijay, to fight for democracy. And we have brought back democracy. People are now beginning to understand the value of what we were saying. They may criticize us more now. That's fine. That's openness. That's democracy. That's holding government to account. But people are also realizing that this is the type of government they need. And come 2026, this is the model that we would like to go in. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as NFP is concerned, we are a loyal partner in the coalition government. The Honorable Prime Minister knows this, I know this, and we are determined to leave a legacy for this country. Whether we come back in government in 2026 or not, that's up to the people. But I am pretty confident that the people can see the value of a government that believes in democracy, that believes in media freedom, that believes in transparency and accountability, that believes in delivering to the people. And I think we have now, despite all the shortcomings, despite all the criticisms, we have created a new political culture in this country. And that's the legacy we want to leave. That's what this country deserves. That's what our people deserve. And that's what we should all work for.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Professor Biman Prasad, thank you again for availing yourself this evening and for answering many questions that have come through from the people out there, from around Fiji and different parts of the world, and also our questions that we had prepared. Until next week, have a great evening.